live. You see they're dry. You see there's no marrow in the bone. You see they're scattered all over the valley. They ain't even full skeletons. I mean, the bones are scattered all over the valley. They're just bones. But answer me a question, Ezekiel. Can these bones live? Ezekiel answers the only way he knows how to answer. Lord, you know. Critical race theory was born out of critical legal theory. Am I teaching y'all something today? There emerged two common beliefs linking all critical race theories. First, white supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's just a fact. How in the world are you going to fight against that being taught in any school? White supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's a fact. Why don't you want that to be taught in school? You let your schools teach us that Columbus discovered America. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that George Washington couldn't tell a lie. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that some slave owners were beneficent and good slave owners. There were no good slave owners. Anybody who owned people was evil. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that Abraham Lincoln was good for Negroes. No, Abraham Lincoln was trying to save the Union. And Abe Lincoln himself said if he could save the Union and keep black people in chains, he would do it. That's a lie. Come on, somebody. You let them teach us about a white Jesus. You let them teach us that Native Americans were the aggressors. Come on, somebody. That white folk had a manifest destiny and that the Pilgrims were good at Native Americans. That's a lie. All day, every day, you let them teach us lies. All throughout my history in school, I was taught lies. But you got a problem with critical race theory because it teaches the truth that white supremacy has subordinated black people and people of color. The right to bear arms. Let me just back up a little bit and let me take you on back to the late 1960s when Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. And they were oppressing black folk, and a group of men and women known as the Black Panther Party decided that they were going to defend the rights of black folk. And the Black Panthers decided that the Second Amendment wasn't just for white folk. So they strapped themselves with guns and showed up at the Capitol in California. And when they saw them Negroes with guns, come on, somebody. That's why I say if you ever really want to get gun laws changed, just strap all these Negroes up. They'll change them laws before the week is over. When the Black Panthers, watch this, I want you to read, the California legislator passed what was called the Mulford Act. It was a gun control act that decided who could get guns, who couldn't get guns, what could be in your background, what couldn't be in your background. It was the first time in history that the National Rifle Association, the NRA, supported restrictive gun legislation, all because black folk had the nerve to get strapped. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, go get strapped. Amen, somebody. Y'all gonna say Bishop told us to get strapped. I said it. Go get strapped. It just got real quiet up in here. But y'all already know I'm a triple P. Amen. Y'all know what a triple P is, right? A pistol packing preacher. Amen, somebody. Thank you, Jesus. because you made it to the palace. Responsibility to help somebody else make it across. Don't blow up the bridge because you made your way across. Thank you, Jesus, for that. But reach your hand back down the ladder and pull somebody else up out of Lodabar. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. 90.7 WTCC. Good morning. Welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan, the second. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness. They create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. It is, let me see, time check, 3 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. I want to thank my friend, Mr. Kenneth Barnett, for bringing us up into the 9 o'clock hour with the promise. You can hear the promise every Monday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., bringing you the best in gospel music. Good way to start out your Monday morning. Great way to start out your week. And boy, oh boy, what a week it has been. So you know what's in the news. You already know we're talking about Roe v. Wade being overturned by the Supreme Court, all of the implications of it, but also what does it mean for other allegedly settled law? What does it mean for other civil rights gains? They've already gutted the Voting Rights Act. What's next? We're going to deal with that. And then we're also going to deal with the fact that, as you know, most of the people celebrating Roe v. Wade have never been pro-life. Not, never, ever, ever, ever. Okay? Come on, man. Come on, man. Let's just be serious. You know these folk ain't never been pro-life. So let's deal with it. Let's talk about it. And see, black folk who consider themselves pro-life, you got to be very careful about calling yourself partnering with and celebrating with those who really care nothing about black life. Okay? You know, regardless of how theological or principled your stand may be against abortion, because I don't think there's any of us that are pro-abortion. All right? And pro-choice is not pro-abortion, because there are certain circumstances by which you should consider. We're going to talk about that too. But please don't lock hands. You know, if you, a broken clock is right twice a day. Okay. So, you know, I mean, if you got some Nazis that agree with you on an issue, man, it's not a good look, with you celebrating with them. You know, I mean, it is what it is. So let's deal with it. Tell somebody the bishop is on the air. We're gonna be controversial as ever. You know how we do. 413-337-1867. 413-337-1867. Welcome to those that are in the Instagram space, the Twitter space, the Facebook space, the YouTube space. For those who are listening on 90.7 FM in the Pioneer Valley, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, wherever you're listening in from, welcome. Do me a favor. Tell a friend, tell somebody the bishop is on the air. Tune in right now. If you're on social media, like, share, subscribe, do all of that. I see you already ready to talk in the Twitter space. We're going to get right to you as soon as we take a little music, spoken word break. But tell somebody the bishop is on the air. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you are chiming in from, where you're listening in from. I want to know. I want to acknowledge. I see H-Town in the house. I see Springfield in the house. Good morning, Aunt Marion. I see you in the house. Good morning, Mother Beard. I see you in the house. Brenda Ford from Fairburn, Georgia is up in the house. Come on, rep your city, rep your town. Houston is in here again. Another Houston. Man, Houston be deep up in here. Houston is deep. Somebody said no sound. Somebody tell me whether there's sound on Facebook. Somebody on Facebook said no sound. It seems like the rest of y'all are hearing me. I can hear on Facebook. So if you can hear on Facebook, say I can hear. If you can hear on YouTube, say I can hear. If you can hear on Instagram, say I can hear. I need to make sure that we coming in loud and clear. I need to make sure that Houston, we don't have a problem. Any of that kind of stuff. All right. Thank you. Y'all are telling me y'all can hear me. Y'all can hear me. Yes. Okay. Y'all can hear me on the gram. Y'all can hear me on Facebook. Y'all can hear me on YouTube. So it must be that user's device. All right. Jefferson, Georgia, up in the building. California is in the building. All right. Who else is in the building? Who else is up in here? Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. We're going to talk about it. All right, y'all. We're going to talk about it. We're coming right back. Don't y'all go nowhere. Please. Don't go nowhere. It doesn't matter what form of protest we take on. They said you ought to be more like Dr. King. And I have to remind all of white America, when Dr. King locked arms and marched nonviolently, y'all put water hoses on them. You sick dogs on them. You put batons upside their head. You shot them and killed them and murdered them and lynched them in the street when we were nonviolent. How dare you tell us to go back to being nonviolent when you didn't hear us then? It really doesn't matter what form of protest we take to redress our grievances. White America is yet not willing to hear us. The president said yesterday that we hear you. He said, we hear your pleas. We support the right to non-violent protest. He's a liar, and his mama is too, because when Colin Kaepernick and others were kneeling non-violently, this same president stood on his bully pulpit and called them thugs and called them hoodlums, and white America stood up and said they were unpatriotic. Well, if we can't kneel non-violently and protest and be heard, maybe, God help me here, they gotta loot Target and burn down police stations in order to get your attention. And wait, let me pause parenthetically right there and say unto you, I'm tired tired of y'all who are tripping about Target being looted, but you ain't tripping about the targets of white supremacy being murdered. Oh, God, help me preach here. The essence of life is grow. But the South Africa is in the building. In the road would be the end of the road. If you rep your city, rep your town. Ferris Hill, don't stop. Dig a little deeper. Go a little further. Go a little further. Come on, come on, come on. Reach a little higher. Come on, yeah. Dig a little deeper. Dig a little deeper. Go a little further. Go a little further. Come on, but don't stop. The essence of life is growth, but the essence of growth is change. The being in the road will be the end of the road if you refuse to change. Your life will never change until you get disgusted with where you are. Whatever you don't hate is what you tolerate. You must learn from the past, plan for the future, and live for today. For it is your daily routine that determines your success or failure in life. It's the choices that you have made up until this point that will determine the rest of your life. So break the cycle that doing enough is simply good enough. You only get out what you put in, so don't settle for the crumbs when you can have a whole loaf. So push yourself beyond your limitations. Come on. Reach a little higher. Reach a little higher. Dig a little deeper. Dig a little deeper. Go a little further. Don't stop. Don't stop. Reach a little higher. Reach a little higher. Durham, North Kakalaki. In the building. Don't stop. Don't stop. Good morning. So you gotta shine bright. I see you. System. Manipulators will always try to bypass the process for the quick progress. There are no shortcuts to success. There are no elevators to the top. You gotta take it one step at a time. You gotta break the routine of allowing others to get into your head to control who you are and where you're going. You see, when you're about the positive, you're gonna always have haters. But don't let your haters push you down. Let your haters push you forward to the next level. So when people show you who they really are, don't perceive them to be something else that they're not. See, a zebra does not change. Fayetteville, so you gotta keep pushing. North Carolina, you're in the building. Come on, yeah. The Gram is repping, y'all. Come on, come on, yeah. Where y'all at, Facebook? Infield up in here. Come on, come on, come on. You gotta understand the greatness is the nature that you're out of. You'll never discover your greatness. Chicago. Hard work and dedication. Greatness is Mattapan. And what you expect in the house. And greatness will always attract greatness. Show me your friends and I'll show Toronto. You just a step away. Toronto, Canada, up in the building. You just a step away. Don't ever yes, sir. Come on. You just a step away. Let's get it. There. Come on. You gotta push yourself beyond. Come on, Facebook. Y'all lagging. You see 600 strong on Instagram. No, let's get it. You can go where you want to go. It's all in the power of your imagination. If you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. So stretch yourself. Take yourself to the next level. Come on, come on, come on. Reach a little higher. Dig a little deeper. Go a little further. Come on, come on, come on. Come on. Reach a little higher. The IG crew got this. Yes, sir. Come on. IG is slaying today. Come on. Come on. Blessings are coming your way. Where y'all at, YouTube? Go a little further. Don't stop. Don't stop. I see you, pretty gal. Don't stop. Get your dream. Until you get your dream. Come on. Now Twitter's representing. We got Twitter space in the house. They in the building. Get your dream. Come on. Ow. Don't stop. Come on. Come on. Come on. Go for the go. Come on. You gotta go for the go. You gotta go for the go. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. 413 337 1867 is the number that connects you here. Let's get on. Let's get ready to rumble, y'all. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I see y'all. Y'all want to talk already. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning to you, Bishop.
Yes. What's good?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about this Roe versus Wade, when they overturn it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's going to lead to the civil rights, voting rights, desegregation, same-sex marriage, interracial marriage as well?
Well, Uncle Clarence, I'm sure he's not going after. Interracial marriage.
Yeah, because you remember Loving versus Virginia.
Right, Loving versus Virginia is what said miscegenation laws that forbid interracial marriage were unconstitutional. So I'm sure Uncle Clarence ain't going for that. But they definitely are talking about Brown versus the Board of Education and other landmark rulings. They're talking about contraception. They're talking about. I mean, they don't want you to have abortions, but they also don't want you to do birth control either. It's crazy.
Is the feminist movement behind this?
Here's my take. When you talk about the feminist movement, look at white women. And as many white women that are out here crying about Roe v. Wade, I said something that I know was controversial, but I'm always saying something controversial. 60% of white women always vote along the lines of white supremacy. Whoever the white supremacist candidate is, whether it's Trump, whether it's Ron DeSantis, whether it's Greg Abbott, whether it's James Cornyn, whether it's Ted Cruz, white women are solidly in the camp, of white supremacists. They wanted this. They wanted this. So my thing with the white women that are upset about it is, instead of, because a lot of them have been slamming Clarence Thomas, and we no love lost. We don't like Clarence Thomas, but this is not the time to exercise your racism. My thing is, there was 3 white dudes and a white woman who voted along with them. Y'all ain't got no smoke for the white people, but y'all just got smoke for Uncle Clarence. So you need to go talk. They need to go talk to their aunties, to their mamas, to their grandmamas, to their daughters, to their girlfriends. They need to holler at them.
But doesn't this ruling affect the lower, like the minority women, more than the
Absolutely, and we're going to get to some of that. And I'm going to try to decipher through this, because I know I got a lot of religious people on here that are itching to hear what I got to say about this, because they're under this notion that you're pro-abortion if you criticize the pro-life movement. No, you can criticize the hypocrisy of the pro-life movement and still not be for abortion. And so we got to understand that we can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Yeah, that's the operative word, hypocrisy. Thank you, Talbert Swan.
All right. Thank you for your call. 413-337-1867. Listen, Pope Francis said this, and I quoted this in my sermon yesterday. Yes, a Pentecostal bishop quoted the Catholic Pope. Okay? He said this, and he was spot on. He was talking about the pro-life movement and juxtaposing it against the backdrop of racial hatred, discrimination, and white supremacy. And he said this: we cannot tolerate or turn a blind eye to racism and exclusion in any form, and yet claim to defend the sacredness of every human life. Say that one more time. We cannot tolerate or turn a blind eye to racism and exclusion in any form, and yet claim to defend the sacredness of every human life. That's coming from the Pope, from the Catholic Church, which is squarely anti-abortion, pro-life, whatever you want to call it. But there was no ambiguity in what he said. What he said was that pro-life efforts must involve anti-racism efforts, and if they don't, they're completely disingenuous. They're completely disingenuous. Because you cannot ignore the protests that erupted around the nation in the last couple of years in response to the killings of black people by police and vigilantes. You cannot ignore them because they challenge this nation to examine racism that is embedded in its social structure. And if you're going to be a true pro-life advocate, you've got to consider whether or not your efforts to protect the unborn actually perpetuate racism and exclusion. Now, if you go back to when they had the March for Life in 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic, it promoted a theme that said life empowers, pro-life is pro-woman. Life empowers, pro-life is pro-women. But nobody asked the question, is pro-life pro-black woman? Because it's easy to claim that pro-life advocacy promotes the well-being of all women by working to protect their children and their vocation to motherhood, but it's simplistic. It's like saying all lives matter. Okay? Because unfortunately, the factors that motivate women to procure abortions, and listen to me good. Let me just state up front my disclaimer. I am against abortion. Okay? Okay? However, I do believe there are situations that warrant it. I also believe in choice. And I know this is controversial for you church folk. God is pro-choice. What do you mean? Well, God said, this day I have set before you two paths. One that lead to destruction and eternal death. One that leads to everlasting life. And then he tells you, choose. Choose. He doesn't force you to do anything. He tells you to choose. That's pro-choice. Okay? And here's the thing. You've got to get to a point where you listen to these sisters and their varying circumstances before you exercise your Christian dogma on the choices that they make. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? Okay? You've got to get there. You've got to get there. Man, I'm telling you, the importance of listening. Matter of fact, I gotta play this clip. I gotta play this clip from my sermon yesterday, because and I said this. I said Jesus took the time to listen to a woman
even though he had made up his mind about a decision. Yet and still, she changed his mind. I want you to listen to this. And I said, if Jesus took the time to listen, shouldn't we also take the time to listen? And I need you to hear this and just tell me your perspective on it. Listen to it.
Jesus had to grow in his own faith walk. When he came across the Cyrus.
All right. All right. I got some technical stuff going on here, but it's important. I need y'all to hear this because this. Okay, I think I got it now. This is important. Listen to this.
Had to grow in his own faith walk. When he came across the Syrophoenician woman, came and asked Jesus for a blessing, and Jesus said, "It's not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to the dogs." Jesus spoke to this woman in a rough, racist way. He was calling her a dog because she was a Syrophoenician. It was apropos to someone calling you the N-word. And Jesus had to come to grips with himself, and Jesus understood that if I'm going to be the savior of all, I can't just be the savior of the lost sheep of the house of Israel. I've got to be the savior of the Syrophoenicians. I've got to be the savior of the Samaritans. And so Jesus had to check himself, and then Jesus blessed the woman in spite of the fact that she didn't come from the same tribe he came from. He listened to her plight and came to a deeper understanding. And we've got to come to a deeper understanding. You don't know, my God, the plight of the woman that was raped and that you want to force to have the child of her rapist. Go on and preach, Bishop. You don't understand the plight of the woman whose health is at risk if she gives birth, and you want to restrict every access to medical care that will take.
Now, I need y'all to really think about that for a minute. Think about the fact that every single circumstance needs to be taken on its own merit. That you cannot blanketly apply something to every single situation. And as I stated, the factors that motivate women to procure abortion, financial insecurity, educational or professional need, lack of prospects for the child's future. They map closely onto the areas that discriminatory practices throughout our nation's history have perpetuated in the Black community. We often focus on this rosy, idyllic aspect of motherhood, but an honest assessment reveals that pregnancy and child rearing impose significant burdens on women, and Black women in particular carry these in ways that are directly linked to their existence at the intersection of two historically oppressed groups, Black folks and women. And so let me speak to my Christian brothers and sisters. As we try to remain true to the Word of God, as we try to remain faithful to upholding the sanctity of life, we've also got to demand that these laws that they're trying to put on the books be complemented by legislation that supports women, that supports Black women in particular. And we should critique rather than unreservedly praise anti-abortion efforts that fail in this regard. There's got to be an integrated approach to both issues, like the Pope said, if we are going to be authentically pro-life. Pro-life advocacy cannot be divorced from advocacy that works against systemic racism and the abortion of life prematurely, or else it just perpetuates those racist systems. This same Supreme Court, I said this in my message yesterday, this same Supreme Court, Google it, somebody Google it and put it in the comment section, ruled on a case involving a man on death row in Arkansas, where his death row sentence was overturned. The prosecutor appealed it to the Supreme Court. And do you know what the Supreme Court said? The Supreme Court said, look it up, I want you to Google it right now. Evidence of innocence is not sufficient to stay the man's execution. Let that sink in for a moment. Evidence that this man may have been wrongfully convicted and wound up on death row, that ain't sufficient to keep the state of Arkansas from putting him to death. That's what this Supreme Court ruled. How the hell is a Supreme Court that calls itself safeguarding life, protecting the sanctity of life, in reversing Roe v. Wade, going to say that somebody wrongfully convicted of a crime can still be put to death? And the pro-life movement say nothing. Nothing about it. Most of y'all listening to me right now didn't even know they just ruled this a month ago. Where was the pro-life movement when they came up with this ruling that said, yes, you can murder, you can execute, you can put to death an innocent person? Where's the right to life movement? Where's the pro-life movement? Where are the March for Life marchers on that Supreme Court ruling? This same Supreme Court. See, this is why I tell you, these folk ain't never been pro-life. Never been pro-life. Let me bring Jonathan up in the Twitter space. Jonathan, you got the platform.
Oh, come on, listen, man. How you doing, everybody?
Good, how you?
I agree with everything you're saying, man. What it is for me is that the way I see everybody is like celebrating, almost championing abortion and stuff like that. It bothers me. You know, I say this in a speech the other day. It really kind of bothers me because it seems very cynical. Because it seems like they're making it very trendy to get like abortion. Abortion is going to be all right. That's what it is. You know, man, you don't really see a lot about how to protect and really going to be. You get in a situation, go get an abortion. It's okay. It's your right, right? But they don't give them no education, no training, no nothing. I know a lot of that is community where we got, take hold, but this narrative is really taking hold of everything we're saying. And I'm pro-life and pro-choice, but the way that it's going now, man, it's really very cynical. And I wonder, and I land on this, I wonder what it's really teaching the young girls about just the possibility if they find themselves in a situation, what do? You don't go to your parents, just go get an abortion. That's right. But I hate the way they are championing and making it very trendy and happy, almost like, I don't know, man, but I don't like it. I land on it. I appreciate the mic.
All right. Let me see. Let me get English Springer Spaniel. You're in the Twitter space. You got the floor, English.
Hi, good morning, Bishop. You were on fire earlier in your speech. As far as Roe versus Wade is concerned, let's not take our eyes off the prize. The bigger picture here is about personal rights and autonomy. Roe versus Wade is the first domino in a series of dominoes that will fall. This SCOTUS is rolling back our civil liberties, and all of it directly impacts us. We're coming after us, the entire black community. And when you brought up that SCOTUS ruling in Arkansas, and I do remember that, I bookmarked that, because that's the first time in modern history where SCOTUS has nullified the appeals process of an innocent person. This guy was found innocent.
Right.
And they had prosecutorial misconduct on the books. Yet that very prosecutor is able to reappeal. What does that tell you right now? We have no more right. And for you to point out exactly the hypocrisy of this, it was never about saving children. When you have laws on the books that don't give income tax credits, that take away milk, that take away food stamps, that take away jobs and training. It was never about the children. It was always about taking away people's rights, people's choices.
Yes. And see, the interesting that you make that point, because by and large, the majority of those who are on this pro-life bandwagon are the same people who support legislation that snatches away programs like women's, infants, and children, that snatches away programs that provide resources to single mothers to be able to have childcare while they go to work. That these are the same people who supported Republicans when 50 some odd times they tried to vote to repeal Obamacare to knock 30 million people off the health care rolls. How in the world are you pro-life when you are literally telling people with pre-existing conditions, with terminal illnesses, that we don't give a hamburger whether you live or die?
Preach.
Yeah, it's insane. This is about a completely different agenda than one that actually believes in the sanctity of life. Thank you so much for your comments. Let's get some other folk up here. Truth be told. Come on, Truth with the truth. You're in the Twitter space. Unmute your mic, Truth. All right. Let's see. Let's go to the next one. Marcel is running for Congress in Georgia. No, in South Carolina. He's actually running against James Clyburn. Let's bring Brother Marcel up. Marcel, you're in the space.
Hey, Talbert Swan. I just want to say, you know what? I agree that this agenda that Roe versus Wade is never maybe been about pro-life, but I completely I'm happy that Roe versus Wade has been overturned. Abortion has killed over 20 million black babies, and black women have been saying for the longest that economic hardship is poverty, why they have been aborting their children. It's time for us to address that issue of black poverty. I find it quite
Let me ask this question.
Okay.
Let me ask the question then. If it's time to address the issue of black economic poverty, why is there no legislation put forth that's going to close the wealth gap, that's going to shut down predatory lending? Redlining is still happening in black communities. There's still no equity in terms of hiring, terminating, and in wages that are paid. It's still a reality that a black man like you with a college degree will make less money than a white guy with a GED or a high school diploma. But there's no big rush by either Republicans or Democrats to address these particular issues. Well, isn't that getting the cart before the horse? And then the other question I want to ask is this, because I don't sneeze at the issue with black women having abortion, but I do have a problem when it's married to the pro-life movement, when I know doggone well that the pro-life movement doesn't give a hamburger about the lives of black people.
And that's exactly the point I was going to make. I find it quite hypocritical that all these white feminists and these white Democrats are out there hollering and screaming and now saying that abortion, Roe versus Wade being overturned.
And white Republicans.
No, I want to say this.
And white Republicans. White Republicans and Democrats. Let's not stop at one party.
No, the reason I'm going to start with the Democrats is because black Americans vote 90 to 95% for the Democrats. So if any party has a responsibility for us, it's the party that we have invested in the most. Now, I find it quite interesting how they are saying, oh, black women are the ones who need access to abortion the most. No, black women for centuries need access to reparations the most. We need access to getting compensation for the land that's been stolen from us the most. We need access to good quality schools the most. Home ownership, bringing back Wall Street. Outrage that where is the attention for black women who have been saying for centuries, we want to have our children.
Okay.
Please do things that we can have the economic.
Now let's make the main thing. Let's make the main thing the main thing, because I don't disagree with you on any of that. But here's my problem. Here's my problem. A broken clock may be right twice a day. That don't mean you're gonna tell time off of it. And so even if you agree, even like you said, even if you say reversing Roe v. Wade is a good thing, and there's nuances around that. How do you celebrate with a group of people that you know mean your people no good? How do you? And see, here's what has undermined, in my opinion, the black church with the younger generation when they see black preachers out there celebrating with white supremacists. That are walking in lockstep with those who 90% of the issues they don't agree with us on. But because the fundamentalist or conservative or Christian groups agree with them on abortion and homosexuality, that they're going to lock arms with them and celebrate with them. Listen, even if I agree with my enemy on something, I'm not holding his hand and celebrating.
Oh, I agree. And that's exactly the issue I have with the Democrats. Because these white feminists out here calling Clarence Thomas a nigger, saying they hope he gets lynched, calling him a push monkey. I think this is showing that both parties are filled with anti-black bigots and white supremacists. One party has the hood on where you can clearly see who they are. The other party has the hood off with a rainbow flag and a Black Lives Matter shirt. But the moment they think we do something that they don't feel we should do, they show that they are just as anti-black as the other party that they always want to point the finger. I think the thing that has turned young black people away from the church is that we hear them saying to us, go out and vote. Vote for the Democrats. The Republicans are bad. The Republicans are bad. And yeah, the Republicans are bad. But then the young black people are saying, okay, we vote for the Democrats. We don't see they're any better. Joe Biden is the guy, and you know this because you brought this out too, who was good friends with segregationists. He didn't just work with them. He wrote thank you letters with them. He called them his inspiration, their mentors. He eulogized them. So there are both parties that have celebrated with anti-black bigots.
Well, there's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about the fact that Republicans and Democrats are two wings on the same bird of white supremacy. That Republicans offer us thoughts and prayers, and Democrats' solution to everything is you got to go vote because it's going to be on the ballot. Thank you so much for your commentary. Let's get some more folks up in the space. Let's get Erica Monique. Erica Monique, you're in the Twitter space. Unmute your microphone. Come on, Erica. You can do it. You can do it. Going once, Erica. Come through. All right, we'll have to get back to Erica. Let's get borderline psychotics. You're in the space. You got the mic. Good morning to you. For the rest of you, 413-337-1867, 413-337-1867. In the Twitter space, you got to unmute your microphone once I put you on the platform. Borderline, you're there. Your mic is muted. I got to go to the next one. Oh, there you go.
I didn't hear you, brother. I didn't hear you.
All right. Oh.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, your name starts with Bishop.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to start right here.
Okay.
What are we talking about? We are talking about baby murder. At that point, I don't understand what the discussion is about.
You don't understand? Have you been listening to the discussion?
I heard the discussion, but again, once we're talking about baby murder,
okay. So let me be clear, because I thought I articulated the matter very clearly. I'm talking about the hypocrisy of the so-called pro-life movement that is celebrating this decision because they're not pro-life. If you
I wasn't questioning you, but I was saying to them, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
And then with them, you understand that this is a tactic. Like, we know what's going on. It's a tactic. The liberals use tactics. I've separated conservatives and liberals like this, right? The Republicans really believe in business. Like, they want to make their money. They believe in the capitalism side of everything. The liberals, if you look at what a liberal is, they all live off of pain. A liberal makes his money off of pain. Liberals are the ones who do all the social work. This is where their jobs come from. So if there's no suffering in this country, how many jobs would lose? Like, just take black people away from the child support system, right? A lot of jobs go away if you're not paying, if we're not doing the child support thing. It's like, this is a very strategic tactic that they use. And what they're doing here, again, is creating confusion, and they got people arguing and acting the fool over something. Again, when I say what we're talking about is baby murder. So at that point, there's really nothing for either side to say. If the mother is in jeopardy, if there was a rape, of course we have common sense. Like, this is a common sense.
But wait, bro. They have common sense because there are states that are now, all the trigger laws have now come into effect after they reversed Roe v. Wade, and there are certain states like Missouri where even in the case of rape, they do not allow abortion. So common sense ain't so common.
That's the point, Bishop. We're dealing with idiots. These people have proven themselves intellectually unable to lead. Look how long it took them to realize that, hey, maybe the man who thinks he's a woman shouldn't be swimming against the women. Maybe they shouldn't be in the actual women's sports. Like, this is ignorance that we're dealing with. It shouldn't take you 2 seconds to come to that conclusion. right? So we have a lot of sick people in this world. The white people are sick, brother. So yes, when we start calling this stuff out, they don't even care. This is how they live. It's like this is how the cops can be brave, and then they can be scared for their life when a 12-year-old boy is in the park.
Right? Here's the thing though, and I agree. But here's my overarching concern is this. And like I said to the last caller, that even if you have some fundamental agreement on some level with your enemy on a particular issue, when you know they're your enemy, you do not lock arms with them. And so, this is my message to my black Christian brothers and sisters who are saying, well, Bishop, we can't support abortion, yada, 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 yada. We also can't support people who hate black people. We also can't support people who justify every time a police officer extrajudiciously murders an unarmed black person. We also can't support people who don't give a hamburger about the infant mortality rate in our community, who don't care about the disparate healthcare system that disproportionately affects black people. You cannot lock arms with them because, we both agree on this abortion thing, so we're going to walk with you and march with you and all of that. No, I can't get down like that. I can't get down with my white evangelical brothers and sisters who I know good and well do not have the best interest of black people. When you say Black Lives Matter, they say, oh, no, 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 all lives matter. I can't get down with that. And I don't understand for the life of me how black people can.
Now that I agree with you, brother, because I'm not locking arms with anybody. What has happened is a situation has happened, and I'm just cool with it. Oh, they got rid of abortion about time because they don't give men financial abortions. If they want abortions, give me a financial abortion, and we cool. Other than that, so yeah, I'm not locking arms with them. I'm not celebrating with them. I'm not even looking at them cool.
And then this other thing I said the other day is 10 million black lives were aborted in the Middle Passage. They were killed prematurely, and these same white folks celebrate, and they want to hide that from the history books, and they don't want you to teach that in the schools because they call that critical race theory. So the abortion of black lives by white supremacy throughout history, they want to hide, but then pretend that they care about the sanctity of life. Man, give me a break. Appreciate your input. Let me get Dubs up in the Twitter space. Dubs, you're in the building.
What's going on, brother Bishop? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How you feel?
I'm feeling good, man. How you feeling?
I'm good. All
right, cool. I'll get straight to it, man. A couple things. When we speak on, they've never been pro-life, I just want to let you know that nobody's locking arms with anybody. We don't fuck with the Republicans.
Oh, no. There's some of our brothers and sisters who are.
Right. Well,
yeah.
More of our brothers and sisters rock with the Democrats, which is way worse. When we talk about Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter is worse than any organization because they lie to us, act like they're for us, and then don't do anything for us. I don't fuck with Democrat or Republican. I'm not on either side, but I will tell you this. I'm voting for policies before anything, and if they ain't got reparations on the ballot, then I'm not fucking with them at all. That's new generation. We not going for all this psyop and all this, people claiming to fuck with us and claiming to really want to serve the black community.
I'm feeling you. Just hold down on the curse words because I'm actually over the air on the radio.
My fault.
No problem.
But I'll say this. So my people have been fighting for a long time. We know Margaret Sanger has implemented abortions, XYZ. But when you say they never been pro-life, I feel that way too. But I'm speaking of the white folk who are the Democrats or Republicans on either side.
Mm-hmm.
This is a win for my black community. Period. It's not a win. I don't care who else loses. I'm not holding hands with anybody. I'm holding hands with my black community because now we don't have to have black aborted babies in our city at a stupid high rate. At 10 million, if I can recall, it was 19 million. since Margaret Sanger had implemented it, or I think it was since the 60s actually. Since the 60s, it's about 19 million. They say our population is 40 million. That's a whole third of our population.
Now let me say this, because I heard you mention Sanger a couple of times, and I get it. Founder, Planned Parenthood, so on and so forth. But just from a historical perspective, Margaret Sanger, Planned Parenthood, in its original founding, was about birth control. It was still racist because they believed in eugenics. They believed in purifying races and making sure they controlled the birth of black folk. But when it comes to abortion, Margaret Sanger actually died before abortion ever became legal and before Planned Parenthood ever performed on abortion. And oftentimes, from a historical perspective, we talk about it in that light, without, putting forth the accurate factual history of it. But I appreciate you, brother. Let me see if I can get a couple more on before I have to transition over to Justice and Flow, and my wife is going to flow. I just remembered I have something I got to do immediately after I get off the spoken word, and so she's going to take the helm, and I'm going to chime in from the car and do what I can, be part of that discussion. But let me see if I can get a couple more in here before we get off here. Chase Savage, y'all in here? You're in the Twitter space. You got the mic.
Morning, Bishop. How are you?
I'm good. You?
I'm doing fine, brother. Out here doing the daily rounds and everything.
All right.
I appreciate you for this thing. And I think that this is Roe versus Wade is a win for the black community, but it's also really kind of sad because I was in the mindset of, when I heard the numbers and the numbers that they calculated from 1970 to 2020, and that was either 19 or 20 million black lives lost. So now, was Roe versus Wade really in for black women? And all this, this whole situation. Well, I'm on a mindset like this right here. I don't have anything to be thankful for none of these people. I'm not rocking with no Republicans. I'm not trying to explain myself evangelical or anything of that sort. You know what I mean? I land my plane on that. Thank you for holding space.
All right. Appreciate you. Oh, boy. I wish I had more time. On this, and I'm sure we're going to talk more about this, as time progresses, because see, the overarching issue is what happens beyond this. When you see people like James Cornyn, a sitting U.S. senator, that says, yeah, let's go after Brown versus the Board of Education next. When Uncle Clarence says, let's go after contraception next, is we don't want you to have abortions, but we also don't want you to be able to have birth control either. It's crazy. I mean, the things that they already gutted the Voting Rights Act. Is the Civil Rights Act next? With this type of an activist court, hey, everything's on the chopping block. I need y'all to understand that. But I got to move out your way. For those of you on WTCC and you want to continue this conversation as we move into Justice and Flow, come on over to the social media side on Instagram, Facebook, etc., and we'll continue. But those of you who are listening, until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you. So do I. We're in with Justice and Flow.
Flo is in the house. Flo is in the house. Good morning, Lady Boy. Hi, Mama Green. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Truth teller already on it.
Had a hot first hour. I wish I could just go on and on and on, but
yeah, I'm painting this smile on my face because it's depressing, but it's also distracting. I think from the greater message, the bigger message, I think True Teller is on point when she says, I believe it's she. This is all about races, white power, and keeping others, in particular black people, in their place. They want to entertain them, make them money, and shut up. I'm in total agreement with that statement. This is not about babies. This is not about baby murder. This is not about abortion. It's about much more, way more.
And that's I guess that's the overarching point I was trying to get the brothers who were saying, I'm celebrating this because of whatever. I'm like, this was never about. This was never about.
It's about life.
And let me just, I'm gonna throw this history in here again, and then let you get into the conversation for the day. People often talk about Margaret Sanger. I got no love lost from Margaret Sanger. I believe
zero.
She was a eugenist. She was racist. All of that stuff. I agree. But let's at least be accurate. Planned Parenthood was about controlling the births of black babies.
Always.
It wasn't about abortion because abortion was not even legalized. Planned Parenthood never performed a legal abortion until after the 1972 ruling, when Margaret Sanger had long been dead. So for you all who want to make it a diabolical plan of Margaret Sanger, who said, "I'm going to abort all these black babies," that wasn't it. I mean, you're in the same area, but not quite accurate.
And let's keep it 100. This is not going to impact white women and their accessibility to abortions at all. But maybe if they are poverty stricken, maybe. But if they are not, more than likely, this is not going to impact their ability to obtain an abortion at all.
Well, the other question is, once again, what another brother said is there are economic and other reasons why black women seek abortion, and we need to be addressing those issues. And so my question is, why is the pro-life movement not addressing those issues? Why aren't they addressing issues of infant mortality, of economic disparities, of all of the overarching reasons why?
We already know why. And nobody's talking about it, and I don't understand why. First of all, a white supremacist system is a system that makes its money off of black life. It's slavery. it's still slavery. I mean, look at every single system in America. Economically, when you look at how it profits, how it makes its money, it makes its money off of black life. So this is about controlling black life that feeds a system that creates revenue and money. When you look at our health system, our poor health, our disparity, the health gap, our inaccessibility to health care, all of that creates revenue. And it's the same thing with our educational system. It's the same thing with our prison system. It's the same thing with every system that moves this country and feeds this country its revenue and its monies. So this is about controlling those bodies. This is about controlling those lives. This is not about abortions. I believe my research showed me that only about, it might be, I don't even know if it's 18%. It's around 18% of pregnancies may end in abortion. The majority of those abortions are done by white women. Okay, the majority of those abortions are done by white women. Most black and brown women, they're not necessarily seeking abortion, they're seeking advice, Planned Parenthood, in other words,
But there's something fundamentally wrong
Right.
when there's something fundamentally wrong right now that in Missouri, a woman who was raped can get 15 years if she aborts her rapist's baby, and the rapist may get probation for raping her.
Well, there's something wrong with the whole system. See, the reason why I believe so-called pro-life people or racist people are celebrating, they're not celebrating the overturning of the decision, to overturn Roe versus Wade. They're celebrating the fact that they did what they accomplished, what they set out to do, which was create a racist Supreme Court. Because I mean, if you just look at it, these decisions here recently, since I believe Coney, right? Coney was the most recent one. Since Coney, or whatever, that they're like, okay, yeah, so we got the Supreme Court that we wanted. It took us a few years to get there, but we finally got the Supreme Court that we wanted, so we can do what we want to do now. And that's basically what they're doing. They're slapping us in the face. Let us show you what we can do now. Let us show you what we can do now. I mean, what kind of Supreme Court justice, right? Justice would even think of saying that evidence of your innocence
is not sufficient to stay your execution.
To stay your execution or exoneration.
Well, we're not even talking exoneration. They're saying it's not. We're not even going to consider it to even give you. Basically, they nullified the appeal process because he appealed it and won the appeal.
And so, what about that is judicial, and what about that even aligned with the word justice? I mean, we living in some crazy times. I can't do it, Bishop. I shared with you. I shared with you that this is hard. It's literally hard to mentally stay on 10 all the time with what's going on. I do believe that it's very important for us to be aware, but I also think that sometimes we just kind of take a turn. And so today, I didn't want to just stay on this, but I wanted to bring somebody else to the table, and I want to have a discussion with our son today. I wanted to talk to him about his generation and fatherhood, but I also want to talk to him about his music and what he's doing today. So do you see him before you?
He's here. I'm gonna bring him up, and then I gotta run out, and I'll try to chime in remotely. But yeah, he's here.
I'm sorry, y'all. I just have to sometimes, take that curve. I know this is just crazy. I don't want us, just on 10 for the rest of the day, upset about what's going on in this country. So I had scheduled my son to come on and talk to us today. And Bishop said that he needed to
feedback. There's a little feedback coming from somewhere.
Yes, son, stay on mute until you're talking. I don't know what that is. Oh, turn the radio off, son. You got the radio on somewhere? Sorry, y'all. But yeah, I just thought that it would be good to have a conversation with the next generation. We had a really good conversation, I believe, last week about fatherhood and celebrating Black fathers. I call my son, he's fixing some things, but I call my son the Golden Fathers, or our son the Golden Fathers. He's our oldest son, and he has two children, and he's such a joy to watch with his babies. He's such a joy to watch. So I call him the greatest of all times. I believe I shared with y'all on last week how I never had a father. And it's been a joy, having children with my husband, raising children with my husband, and watching him as a father, move, as a man and as a dad. But even more of a surprise, um, above my wildest imagination, because I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think that, somebody like me who was born like me didn't have a dad, never had a dad, and never had a man to tell me, a dad to tell me that he loved me, and that he was proud to tell me as his daughter or whatever. I never thought about what it would look like to have a son and watch him as a father. And so, God gave that to me. And so, son, I want you to know that I share with the public. I don't know what's going on where that feedback is coming from, son. But I shared with the public how you are my wildest dreams when it comes to watching you move, as a dad. It's such a joy. It brings me joy. You are one of the epitomes of black man joy. Maybe I should say black man joy because you're 28. Well, I'm 28, or whatever. And I just wanted you to know that before we get into our conversation today. Dad said, "Do you have headphones, son? Put some headphones on."
Hold on.
We're getting feedback. Y'all bear with us for a moment, because I think we're gonna have a really good conversation. Once my son gets his technical stuff figured out. Yeah, y'all. We'll come back next week and we'll pick up with this Roe versus Wade stuff, and I'm sure SCOTUS will do something else between that time. Lord have mercy. Okay, son, I don't hear you. Wait a minute. Yes, I do. Y'all hanging in there with us this morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. The title of my husband's message yesterday was living in a world that wants you dead. So true. Living in a world that wants you dead. Well, I'm kind of the belief that they don't want us immediate. But we probably would be better off, because they certainly want us to suffer. They certainly want to create a system to where we suffer, and they make money off of it. Mother Lydia, going a little behind. We're still going as far as the garden. Mother Lydia asked about the garden. So we're waiting for my to try to fix the difficulties we're having. But nevertheless, the garden is going. Still waiting on stuff to be delivered and put together. We decided to also not have raised beds, to have some elevated beds for the seniors, because the seniors get down on the ground. Well, I'm getting to that point. I'm a senior too, Mother Lydia. and get down on the ground like I used to. So we're also going to be constructing and putting some elevated or more mobile beds in the garden. But I have some okra in my personal garden, and I've got some tomatoes growing in my personal garden, and I've got some herbs growing in my personal garden. So I'm very excited about how God is moving. We've been funded twice. I'm part of the Black Church Food Security Network. And so it's a lot of things that are going. The church has not had to spend one dime. The only thing that the church did was donated the liquor, and everything else was given to us, donated to us. And and has been money I spent. So it's not too late to become a part of this effort. I believe, like you said, it was a ministry, and I will be bringing Anna on again soon. So we could talk about where we are and where we're going. So thanks for asking that question, Sister Lydia. All right, teammate, you ready to go? I'm still getting some feedback. That's okay. I think we're trying to get through it.
My headphones is not connecting for some reason.
Okay. You want to try to use your phone instead?
Say again?
You think if you use your phone, it'd be better?
This is my phone.
Oh, you on your phone? Okay. All right. So let's see if this works. Actually, that's a little bit better right there. Okay, so let's see if this works. Hi, everybody. This is my son. We apologize for the delay. We're just trying to get some technical things, worked out, tweaked out, so that we can hear really good. This is our oldest son, Talbert the third. Say good morning, son.
Morning.
I wanted to bring my son on, y'all, because as I alluded to a little bit earlier, and I'm not sure, T-Man, if you got to hear me, but first of all, I thought about you, and I'm always thinking about you now. You've been a dad for 3 years, over 3 years, and I'm always thinking about you when it comes to Father's Day, because you've been such a joy to watch with your babies, with your children. And it always kind of surprises me because you're young and vibrant and talented, and you work, you're a barber, so you work full time, and but you're also a dad. And it just always amazes me how I hear you say, and I see you say, okay, I gotta go to work, but I can't wait to get back home to my kids. I can't wait to get back home to my kids. I almost have to force you out, sometimes, and, go out and, spend some time with your boys now and your friends, or whatever the case may be. So tell me how it's feeling being a dad, Tell me about that.
I mean, it feels great. I can't say that it's easy, but I do love it. These are my kids are like my pride and joy. There's obviously a lot of people I love in my life, but the love you have for your kids is a different type of love. You always gotta put them first in every decision I make. Like I can't move how I used to. Literally anything I do, I gotta think about my kids first. I can't just get up and go do nothing anymore. I gotta consider if my kids are gonna be taken care of, things like that. But I definitely enjoy just seeing them grow and learn new things on the daily. Um, yeah, I've always been a family guy just from growing up in a big family. So I always knew that when I did become a father, that I would be the type to love my kids, want to spend a lot of time with my kids.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. I don't think I paid as much attention to it, but you were a wonderful uncle. So before you even had your children, of course, you had your nieces. Hey, Whit is on the line, man. So, you know, your nieces, man, you were very attentive. You know, you used to, you know, make sure that you would spend time with them. You would take them to Chuck E. Cheese. You know, you would take them to the little gyms and the little places. Certainly a very active and very attentive uncle. That probably should have been a sign to me of how great of a father you were gonna be. But I'm telling you right now, son, and I'm not just saying this because you're my son, but you have literally blown my mind with the kind of father that you are. And maybe my mind is easily blown because of my background as it, you know, pertains to a father. But you know, I had, you know, extraordinary grandfathers, but it's a little different. You know, it's a little different being fathered by your grandfather as opposed to your actual father. And one of the things I remember you saying when Jonah was born, your first child was born. I remember you saying we was having our little moment. You know, I think we were in the hospital and I was holding the newborn baby, and you was sitting next to me, and I don't know if you remember this, but you said to me, I don't understand how people can leave their baby. How can fathers walk away from their babies? You know, and I was one of those babies that a father was.
He never blew my mind.
Yeah, well, he blew my mind, and like I said, he blew my mind because you know, again, of my background.
Well,
But
I say that because I never expected anything less of him. Um, I just, like you said, we saw him as an uncle and all of that, and while far from perfect, I think that um, his life experience of from the time he was a kid, spending time with his dad, and whether it was on the bike or on the basketball court, or whatever it was. I think he had the type of upbringing that if he had just demonstrated some of that he was going to be all right. So I never doubted that he'd be the kind of father that we've seen him turn out to be.
yeah, well, I'm still gonna say what I said only because, like I said, I believe that T-Man has gone above and beyond what he was even shown. And I don't think he realizes it. And again, I'm not saying this to, uh, just brag on him, but it's true. I mean, the kind of attention and the kind of quality time that, just comes naturally to him spending with his children in relationship with his fiance, or whatever. I mean, like I've heard him make statements, and T-Man, you could talk a little bit more about this because I've seen this too, where when children are with their father, and women say this to men. Oh, you babysitting your kids, and T-Man will say, "These are my kids. I can't babysit my kids." Whatever the case may be. But and so I saw a lot of fathers who would say, "I got to babysit my kids." So what I'm saying is something as simple as that, as subtle as that, as
Well, I don't know why that's still a phenomenon, and it amazes me that
and he's went above and beyond some of the stuff that he was exposed to. That's what
I don't know why that's still a phenomenon.
It is a phenomenon.
Especially
It's
after
crazy.
all of these years. I remember when he was born in September, and like the first time we went to a convocation was in November, 2 months after he was born. And the most shocking thing for me was and this was from church.
I remember that.
This was from people in the church. Was
Yep.
like it was an anomaly that they thought it was an anomaly to see me walking through the convention center
With
with
a
my
car
son,
seat.
with my 2-month-old son,
Mhm.
strapped to me, and it was like we were this object, like,
Yeah,
wow.
that's
And
true.
I was just so
That's true.
surprised, like, why is this a big deal? This is my son. I mean, like, what do you expect? What do you expect?
Hmm.
And for people to 30 years later to still be awed by seeing a black man with his kids,
Right.
that to me is very puzzling.
Well, I'm glad that you brought. That's a good segue because we kind of ended the show last week, T-Man, talking about the perceptions of fatherhood, particularly black fathers. And so your dad and I brought up. I forgot to bring my statistics with me, but basically, statistics show or research has shown over the years that black fathers are the most attentive fathers, that they're the most hands-on fathers, that they are more likely to put their children to bed, take them to school, get them dressed, comb their hair, feed them, cook for them, give them a bath. All of those little, all of those little things, right? Read to them. All of those little things that we take for granted, right? Take them to the park, play basketball, show them how to play basketball, whatever the case may be. Um, Black fathers are the most attentive fathers in this country, right? So when you think of all of those things, I know that they try to paint a picture that all of the ills in the world come from children not having their fathers or whatever. Well, that's not necessarily true. They conflate the issues, or whatever the case may be. But black fathers are very good fathers. Now I'm not saying that we're perfect, and that we don't have issues that we need to take care of, because we do. But that's everywhere. But at the same time, we cannot dismiss the fact that a present fathers or fathers that co-parent, fathers that are in the home, black fathers that are in home or whatever, that they tend to be the most attentive fathers. They tend to be the most available fathers. They tend to be the most approachable fathers. They tend to be the most hands-on and loving fathers, that the world has to offer. So I feel like you exemplify that, sir. I feel like you exemplify that, and that's why I call you the GOAT. That's why I call you the GOAT. So I found myself saying that I didn't have a father, but I can birth one. I can produce one, right? I can create one. And so I'm believing that you're setting a really good example, along with your father and your uncles and your granddaddies. I think that for your generation, you're setting a really good example. I think in your generation too, right? You look at your cousins, it's about 3 of y'all that are fathers, right? About 3 of y'all that are fathers, and most of y'all are not. I mean, I'm talking about the men in your
Oh
generation.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, about 3 of y'all are fathers, and I think that all of y'all are out to a really great start, a really good, setting really good examples for the next generation, to come. So I just wanted to start the show out by elevating that conversation about fatherhood, and I want to be encouraged. But I also want to say this: I want to hear more from you. You're not much of a talker like your dad. I want to hear more from you though. But I also want to say this to you, son. I'm glad that you say that it's not easy. That is not easy. I'm glad that you are aware that you had to make some adjustments in your life in order, right, to be the best father that you can be to your baby. Um, and I also want to say this to you, and this is the therapist in me, the mommy in me, the therapist in me. I also want to say this to you, um, that my mother told me, and I believe that this is applicable to any parent. My mother told me that a mother don't have any pride. That I'll do anything that I need to do to make sure that my babies are good, that they are safe, and that they eat, right?
Yep.
So, with that being said, and I'm getting emotional because, of course, mommy's not here with me anymore. But with that being said, I definitely took on that mentality. I heard my mother say that when I was 5 years old. And I asked her about it when I got older. She said, "You remember you saying that?" I said, "I absolutely do, or whatever." So I think that that's kind of the mother bear in me. That's the mentality that I have. I'll do whatever I need to do to make sure my babies are safe and make sure that they good, or whatever. Um, but in that, when her first line was, "Mamas don't have no pride," so I had to learn what that meant, and what that meant was I can't be too prideful to ask for help when I need it, right? So I'm not saying that you are there. I just want every good parent to understand that in order to be a good parent, you have to have a support system in place, and you can't be too prideful to ever ask for help. When you need help, ask for help. When you need a break, take a break. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure that I put that out there, and that's for you too. Whitney's on the line. She's talking about how great of an uncle you've always been, and you're a great father. You're a great father. So I just want to say that. Let me ask you about that before we go on to your music. What do you think about what I just said about asking for help?
No, I believe that parents should be able to put their pride aside to make sure their kids are good. Not even besides from asking for help. Like for example, like I know like my fiance, if somebody babysitting the baby, she'll be texting them talking about send me pictures, and I'll be like, don't you think you're being a little annoying? And she'll be like, I don't care, I want to see if my kids are good. Like,
She did
so
it. She
even
did
just
it
little stuff
Saturday.
like that.
Yep, she did it Saturday. She FaceTime like 15 times. I was like, "Aren't you
Yeah.
away on vacation?"
Right,
Hey,
right,
son.
right.
Hey,
You
son.
supposed to be out enjoying yourself, but you worried about the baby. But I get it though. I definitely
Yeah.
get
Hey, son.
it.
Get used to that. Um, two things. One, I was gonna say when your mother said, if you need help, if you need me to cut Jonah's hair, if you just can't bring yourself to do it, just let me know. I help you out. I help you out with that. And
I think we'll be good in that department.
Yeah, I
and,
think so.
and,
I think so.
then the other thing is, yeah, get used to that. Because here's the thing about mothers. It doesn't matter how much they trust you or know that the babies are gonna be safe with you. They're still gonna act like that no matter what. Like
Yep.
your mother would leave and go to Dallas or somewhere, and I'd be at home with you guys, and she'd be trying to run the house from Dallas, and I'd have to be like, yeah, I got this.
Yep.
Don't worry about this. I got it. So that's gonna be lifelong.
Yep. Yep.
No,
No, yeah.
she don't do it to him as much as she do it
No,
to other
she
people.
do it to me too.
She
She
do
do
it
it
to
to
you
me
too.
too.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
'cause she was gone to New York this weekend, and she was
I
every
know.
day talking about sending me pictures of the family. I'm like, they
I
fine. They
know.
home with their dad. They
I
fine.
know.
But
Yeah, it was pretty bad on Saturday.
no, she definitely do it to me too.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say your biggest challenge is?
My biggest challenge, like as a father and stuff,
Yeah.
um, I would maybe say just trying to balance, spending time with the kids and taking care of the kids between, the other stuff that I want to do, like the music and stuff like that. I do feel like I've gotten into a pretty good groove as far as that goes, but sometimes that could be, a little challenging. Trying to find time to, do the other stuff that you want to do. But obviously, my my kids are my priority, so I always put them first before everything. So if there's something that needs to be done for them, whatever else I got to do, to get put on the back burner.
Mhm. Have you so your music is very important to you, so that's a perfect segue into talking about your music. So your music is very important to you, right?
Yeah,
So it's a top priority.
yeah, I would say so. I definitely treat music like it's a priority as well. Just not over my kids, but
Yeah,
yeah.
of course, that wouldn't even sound right if you was to say that.
Right, right.
What you're saying that is that important to you. If you didn't have children, you know, it would be a close first priority. Okay, so that's what
Most
you're saying.
likely, yep.
So that's interesting to me because I of course I remember how God told me that I was pregnant with you, right? And that so God told me I was pregnant. I was pregnant with my son, and that he was special, and he had a special gift, and that he had a special assignment. You know the story. I told you the whole story. And so uh I even went, to get pregnancy tests, and they were both negative, but the Lord had told me I was pregnant, so I knew I was pregnant. And so then eventually, the test said positive, or whatever. And the night of your birth, you almost died. Of course, you know about that. You had some health issues. Again, you were suffocating in the womb. I almost died the whole nine, and I held on to the vision, that I had, which was you on a mountain. I told you, right? It was you. You were standing on a mountain. You had on a trench coat, and you had on a hat and a trench coat, and the wind was coming from the east. Yeah, the wind was coming from the east. It was blowing your coattail up, and you was just standing on this mountain, and like I said, the Lord said that you were special, and that you had a special assignment from Him. So here you are, about to be 28 years old. I'm still looking at you in awe sometimes, remembering that vision, remembering what God told me about you, and you have been everything and special. These 27 years, right? Everything and special. The music, do you think that the music is the assignment that God was telling me about?
Most likely.
Okay, so tell me more. Why do you think it's the music?
Cause honestly, that's my real passion. Like, I think about music every single day. Even when I'm not like creating my own music or whatever, I'm listening to some other music and soaking in that and getting that inspired. And my
Yeah.
mind is always thinking of new ideas.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'm up late at night.
I know
You know,
sometimes you can't sleep.
yeah, sometimes I can't sleep just because I'm thinking of
Yeah.
ideas or I'm thinking of song lines for something that I'm in the middle of writing or whatever the case may be. And I'm always like, going back and forth between songs and working on this and working on this and working on like I'm always trying to find time to do some music stuff like whenever I can.
So we didn't really see this come out of you until you was in high school, and I think you was about 15 years old. And
About 14, 15.
yeah, now you had started, kind of picking away at the organ. That was because the church had need of you, or whatever. So you was like, I'll try, or whatever. So you started looking at you. Am I right? You started looking at YouTube videos, and of course,
Well, yeah, this is around the time when me and Quan had both
yeah,
started trying to play together and stuff.
Right, right. And he was playing the drums and he was trying to pick at the organ. And you actually started getting pretty good. And then of course, Aquan became inspired and he wanted to play the organ. Then, y'all kind of switched. And you remember when we used to say switch? But at the same time, your music, your passion for music was growing at the same time that your passion, well, your wanting to help the church out instrumentally, was growing at the same time. Both of those was growing at the same time, right? Would you say that that's true?
Yeah, what I would say, how I would kind of explain it, I've definitely like always been into music even while I was like even before high school. Like every now and then I would play around and try to write a rap. Like I remember even when Daddy had played with me and Driscoll and stuff. Yeah, I made that little CD that he was rapping on in the basement, and we thought that was so cool. um,
Yeah, Daddy.
yeah,
Daddy think that he,
but
missed out on his opportunity to be an MC.
but what I would say is
No hate, no hate.
once I started learning how to play instruments, like once I started getting interested in playing the keys and playing the drums and stuff, I kind of just got more interested in music production overall.
Mm-hmm.
And since I was, already kind of trying to rap a little bit, like when I was learning how to play the keys, I would just, learn how to play other people's songs on the keys, obviously. And then like, I was like, you know what? How about I combine both my skills and just make my own music, So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
started trying to obviously when I did start rapping, I would be rapping over other people's beats and stuff. But once like me and my boy Jordan linked up and I
Yeah,
started
Joy.
making, yeah, then I started making like my own original music. I never looked back.
Yeah. Right. So I mean that's kind of the growth, the evolution of T Swan music, right? So I've seen you where you haven't been able to sleep. It's like you gotta get when you're inspired, you gotta get out before you're able to kind of relax. It's a little bit of ADD that you have, which is not a bad thing. Typically, people that are creatives like you are, we have ADD. You so you pretty much you may have gotten that from me and your father, because we have ADD and it's things that come along, ideas that come along or whatever. When you're trying to create, you got to get it out before you can rest,
Exactly,
before you can
exactly.
relax, right? So but so yeah, I started to see that in you, but I also started. Let's just keep it 100. I also started to see that you were so distracted by that that you wasn't doing everything that you were supposed to be doing in school. You
Yeah,
know,
no, that's true, and
and you were
that's
bright.
another reason why I knew that like this is what I really wanted to do because I was putting it before everything up until I had kids. Like I was putting music before everything, pretty much.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting too, that I bring up the school part because here's the fact of the matter. And this is not to encourage this kind of behavior, but you were a naturally bright kid. You were scoring out the chain on your SATs, on your ACT. You got scholarship offers and this and then the other, but you wasn't moved with the traditional classroom setting, or whatever. You were actually bored by that. And so it's really something to be said to the educational system that you have young people like yourself that are creative, that are artistic, that are musically inclined, that are brilliant intellectually or whatever, but they are educationally bored, kind of way that education is pretty much delivered in our school system. So honestly, somebody like you would be an example of some areas or some ways where we might need to change, in the way that we deliver education. But yeah, you
It's
were
funny because
born.
sorry to interrupt. And
No,
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say it's funny because after I graduated from Central, they actually put like I heard they actually put like a music production class in there and stuff like that. Like after I left.
Yeah, remember that song you wrote for them?
Mhm.
Well, actually, you sampled Black and Gold, and then you did a Black and Gold for them for
Yeah,
Central,
yeah.
just like you did. What was it, Dear Mama? Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah, for me, that was like one of the first, songs that you did. You lost a lot of your music because when your computer crashed, which I'm still hurt about that. So I can't imagine how you feel when I'm hurt about it. But anyway, so I wanted to talk to you about where you are now with your music. Like what's your favorite song so far? What's one of
That
your
I've
favorite
made
songs?
like what a favorite song that I've made.
Yeah, of course.
Um, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
I mean, you think about your uncles and your aunties, how they was jamming to your music. Your cousins,
Yeah,
how they
yeah.
jamming to your
Honestly,
music on Sunday.
I don't know if I could pick one, but I could say one of my favorite songs is probably a family song, just because like like family is really important to me, and I'm sure it's important to a lot of other people too. Um,
Yeah.
and like I
I, lo-
really
I
enjoy.
love the video. I
Yeah, I
love
was
the
gonna say I
video.
really enjoy making the video.
I just wish that my house was in better shape when it was filmed.
No, it looks fine
I
because
wish
I
I wish
feel
that
like
I
it
had my
gave it
patio.
more. I feel like
Yeah,
it gave it more of that home vibe.
it
Like
was.
like it's
Yeah,
really at home,
it,
and
it was. It
we
was
not trying to
authentic.
flex and floss and be fancy. It just gave it real family vibes.
Yeah, it
And
was
that's what I like
authentic.
about it.
It was true. It was true. I do like that video. I like that video a lot because the babies are in it. Micah's holding the baby, kissing the
Yeah, we
baby.
got a lot of good shots,
A
and I
lot of
definitely
good
wanted to
shots.
get it over there because that's the house I
Yeah,
grew
that's
up
the
in.
house you
So
grew up in. Yeah, this is the house you grew up in and was raised in. So yeah, so wonderful. So what song? Because I know that you write authentically, so you don't make up stuff. You write from the heart. You write from your experiences. What song or what song have you done was the most emotional?
um, probably my song "Made Me." You guys might have heard it because I know Dad plays it sometimes on his show. But in that
Mhm,
first verse, I talk about my best friend Darren that committed suicide when he was 19, and that
mhm,
was that was definitely very personal
mhm,
and emotional, especially because like in that verse, I talk about how I received the news,
mhm.
you know, and things like
Yeah,
that.
you tell the whole story. Hmm. And it's been what, 8 years since Darren passed?
Nine now,
Nine.
nine, yep.
Yeah, 9 years since Darren passed. And so your music is therapeutic also.
Oh, very, very, very.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like even when I'm just like upset about something, sometimes I'll just write a verse and may not even use it for a song, but it's just therapeutic for me at the moment.
Hmm. So talk to me, son. I know we getting ready to go. We just got a few more minutes left. But talk to me about how um you are still um in the church. You certainly believe in God. You have faith. You have your faith and your beliefs of God. Um, and you do your music. You've made a decision in this day and time, and I'm amazed by this, to not curse and use vulgar language and things like that in your music. So talk to us about that decision.
Well, I don't feel like I necessarily need to get my point across for the stuff that I talk about in my music. For one, for two, I feel like it makes it better because that way more people feel comfortable listening to my music. You don't gotta you don't gotta feel crazy about listening to my stuff around your kids or around your grandma or whatever the case may be. And a lot of people have told me that, like, the way I deliver my raps and stuff, and a lot of people tell me they don't even realize it till like after they listen to a few songs and they like, oh shoot, I just realized he ain't cussing nothing. You know what I mean?
Clean.
So like, I'm just kind of proving to people that
Yeah,
you don't need to be vulgar and make a hard rap song.
Yeah. You ain't judging the ones that do, because I see,
No, yeah,
you got a lot
I'm
of
not
friends
judging
that
the ones
do,
that do,
right?
because at the end of the day, like, people do use that type of language in everyday conversation. So it would be like kind of fake of them to let's say I'm a potty mouth in real life, and then I'm on my songs trying to be all thing, like that's almost as fake as trying to pretend to be a gangster when you're not. So like there is like a level of honesty in it, I would say, but it doesn't. There is a point where it is overly excessive for sure. Like there is a lot of times where it's like, all right, he
I know that's a trade off.
He need to throw all them B words in there. He need to throw all the there's definitely a lot of cases where that's the case. But there are some cases too where the vulgar language is needed to get a certain message across or whatever they're trying to get across in it.
Yeah. Okay, so here's a question. So who's your favorite? I don't want the top five. I want your favorite rapper. Influential rapper inspirational rapper for you. Who is your number one?
I'll probably have to say Kendrick, and it's funny. It's funny you just asked me that because I was just thinking about him with the last question you asked me, because I was thinking about one of the songs on his last album where the concept is like a couple arguing, and of course there's a lot of vulgar language in that song, but it's for the message they was trying to do in that song. It makes perfect sense.
Okay. What was the message in the song?
Well, it was. I don't know if I can particularly say there was an overall, like a lesson you had to learn from it, but I know at the beginning of the song they say this is what the world sounds like, and then it's a couple arguing and going at each other, talking crazy to each other. You know what I mean? But what I was saying it was necessary was because like there are couples in relationships like that actually do talk to each other like that and get into it like that. So it was like a real reflection of, what I mean? It wasn't like
toxicity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Awesome. So what are you doing now? What are you doing now as it pertains to your music?
I've been working on a lot of music. I got a couple projects in the works. I got some collab projects with some of my friends in the works. Like I said, I'm always trying to find time to keep creating and keep making music. So that's when I'm not at work and when I'm not taking care of my kids, I'm most likely down here in the basement trying to pick something up.
So let me also do this. And if Dad wasn't, kind of running around today, because he works the technology for the show. If he wasn't running around, I probably would have played one of the songs you helped me do. You basically did the music for me. I provided the poetry. So I do feel like I don't necessarily like calling you a rapper. I call you a lyricist because to me, you do poetry, you do language expression. You write songs.
I just call myself a musician or an artist for the most part. Like I do consider myself a rapper because I rap, but overall, like I just consider myself a musician because like if I was to be, I can produce if I want to. Like we said, I used to play around with the keys and the drums back in the day and stuff like that. So like my
Mhm.
musical ability is not just limited to rapping. So
Right, right. So that's why I don't like calling you a rapper. I'd rather call you an artist because that's what you are to me. You're an artist, and I just love your flow. I love the way that you put words together. Very inspirational, very powerful. I come to you quite often, and I ask you to do something. For I don't know, our anniversary, for church, for youth day, whatever the case may be. So, those times are coming back up again. But I wanted to publicly say thank you for helping me with my 2 points that I did. I don't know if you heard, but they play both of them on STCC. And as a matter
okay.
of fact, I've been invited to a reception tonight to be acknowledged for some of the work, for those, 2 submissions. And I'm going to be working on some more. So I'm going to need your help again. I'm going to be working on some more to submit for, the upcoming year. So thank you for reminding me that when I was young, when I was a kid, that I used to love to write poetry and I used to like to do spoken word. So I used to call myself a little rapper and a poet too. A lot of people don't know that about me, but the trust transfer actually gave me an opportunity for that to, kind of come back out. So it's after 11 o'clock, son. I could talk to you all day. I love you so much. I appreciate you for coming on to the show, talking to us about your fatherhood, talking to us about your music. Tell the people where they can go and get your music if they're interested in listening to it. And I'm sure everybody will listen, y'all. My son is my favorite artist. He's number one. I listen to a lot of other music. I wanted to ask you that too, son. If you couldn't do, I don't know what you call it, hip hop or whatever. If you wasn't doing hip hop, what other genre of music would you do?
Um, man. I don't know. That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. You wouldn't do gospel with your mom?
Possibly.
Yeah, yeah, you've been the only consistent musician that's always, been by your mom's side, always been by your mom's side in praise and worship. So thank you so much for that as well. Thank you so much for your support in that as well. But we do have to do that. We got to do an official collab, okay? We got to write the song together and everything, but we got to do an official collaboration for the people. Okay, but tell the people where you can go and get your music done. Tell the people where they can go.
You can find me on Apple Music, Spotify, any streaming service you listen to, under T Swan. That's T apostrophe Swan. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at T Swan Music, TSWAN.
All right. So T apostrophe Swan and T Swan Music. I know when I talk to Alexa, I got Alexa all over the house. I have to say, Alexa, play T Swan on Spotify. I have to say it
Yep,
like
yep,
that.
yep, yep.
Right. I have to say, play T Swan on Spotify in order, to get Alexa to play T Swan music for me. So, but he's on all platforms. Everybody, listen, go and look at some of his YouTube videos, get a little taste. Trust me, you will like his stuff and you will, want to purchase and have your own. So go and support my son. He's a good, clean artist. He loves the Lord. He loves his family. And most of all, he loves his babies and he loves his community. So go and support my baby, T Swan Music. Okay, son, I love you. And again, thank you for coming out to the show. You got to promise me you're going to come back and continue the conversation with your mom.
Oh, you too.
All right. All right. Love you, baby.
All right.
All right. All right, bye everybody. I hope you enjoyed or got something out of today's show. Please don't forget to go and visit, my son on any of the platforms that are out there and available. Again, thank you for chiming in. I know that I took a sharp curve, from the conversation earlier, but trust me, it's always time to, to kind of, debrief, settle down, so that your blood pressure is not always on 10. So go out and enjoy the rest of your week. Be blessed, be informed, and give God glory. God bless you. Bye.
Peace. Peace and love, blessings. Check us out at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ, 35 Alden Street. Sundays at 11 o'clock a.m. And until the next time we talk to you and us.
Thanks, babe. Didn't know you were still out there. Bye, everybody.